No, that weren't my fault. The game's broken. Yeah, I'll prove it. Hello there and welcome to No Useless Questions, where today we take a little bit of a detour away from nerd culture to talk about something that's just really been bugging me recently. Since the world has, fallen apart a bit in the last year, and I've become a mandatory introvert as opposed to an introvert by choice, I've turned to video games more than ever to pass the time. One game that I, along with a lot of other people, have seemingly enjoyed has been Call of Duty Warzone, which, for the very few of you that don't know, is a free-to-play battle royale first-person shooter that is supposed to be at least somewhat realistic, unlike other BR games that think that Bob the Builder would make an excellent fighter for some reason. So when playing Warzone, there's been a certain reoccurring event that has me, let's say, perplexed. Right, imagine this. You're dropping out of the plane at the start of the game, you land in the same place as an enemy team, no one's had a chance to pick up a better weapon yet, so you're all using the basic starter pistol. You start firing at them, you're hitting your shots, when all of a sudden, they charge at you and try to punch you. Right, who do you think's going to win that fight? Well, according to Activision, every army in the world has been doing war wrong this whole time, because apparently in a fight, punching beats shooting. In Warzone, you can kill someone by hitting them with your gun 3 times, but you can survive being shot by way more than 3 bullets. For every person watching this who's never actually played Warzone is probably thinking right now, if it's that stupid, why are you still playing the game? And honestly, every time this happens, I ask myself the same question. Because surely there's no way that makes any sense. There's no way that can be real. Well, I thought, let's give Activision a chance here. Let's actually look into this. Does it make any sense that you can hit someone with your gun 3 times and kill them, but shooting them lots? Nah, you can walk that off apparently. So to analyse this problem, first we'll look at the shooting part. In Warzone now you can spawn in with a variety of different pistols, but for this we'll be considering the M19 pistol from Modern Warfare. In reality, there's no such pistol as an M19, but instead it's modelled on an SIG Sauer P320RX, a 9mm semi-auto pistol. The version in Modern Warfare also doesn't match any real scale models, sitting somewhere between the full-size and compact versions. To quickly tie this back into nerd culture for a second, the full-size version is seen in John Wick Chapter 2, whereas the compact version is used in Season 1 of The Punisher. There, now this is relevant to the channel, and it's not just about me wanting to whinge about losing in a video game. But for the sake of this video, we'll be considering the full-size version of the gun. So the full-size version of the pistol weighs 0.84 kilograms, has 20.3cm length, an 11.9cm barrel, and a muzzle velocity of 365 meters per second. The gun uses 9x19mm parabellum ammo, which has a bullet mass of about 8 grams. Also, throughout all this, it's very likely that I'm going to mispronounce a term or say something weird when it comes to guns. I am not in any way a firearms expert. I don't really know a whole lot about guns, full stop. Considering the problem mathematically, we can calculate that the bullet has a kinetic energy of 532.9 joules, a momentum of 2.92 kg/meters per second at the muzzle. Now anything beyond this will take multiple estimations of certain factors, but using some estimations we can calculate the force applied by the bullet among other values. So considering air resistance encountered by the bullet travelling to the target, we can estimate a bullet velocity of about 320 meters per second after travelling through the air. And then after that we can come to a very rough estimate of a force of around 1,400 newtons. This will give a pressure applied by the bullet as about 70 million pascals. We'll come back to these numbers later so we can compare them to punching, so that there's a sense of scale there. So in all this we have to consider what the point of bullets actually is. Well, bullets kill people by penetrating the body and destroying internal structures such as blood vessels and organs. But even if that initial shot doesn't immediately kill you, the number one preventable cause of all battlefield deaths is actually blood loss. And determining whether or not a gunshot is fatal, there are multiple things to take into account, such as where the person was shot, the type of bullet they're being shot with, the type of gun firing the bullet, the level of protection the person is wearing. But there are accounts of people surviving multiple gunshots that have penetrated the body. So, in reality, Warzone might not be too far out with their whole not dying from multiple bullets, but acting like the being shot hasn't done anything to you is probably a step too far. All in all, trying to consider whether or not the gunshots in Warzone would all be fatal is next to impossible, because determining whether any gunshot is fatal is practically impossible. but especially when you take into account things like Igor running around without a shirt on. How am I supposed to take into account the protection that the operators have when Igor goes into a war zone without a shirt on? Not even a bulletproof vest, just no shirt, looking like a discount Vladimir Putin. So what about punching? Well, there have been multiple studies looking at the force that punches can apply, most of these looking at top-level boxers. One study looked at Olympic boxers ranging from flyweight to super heavyweight. The punching force for a super heavyweight here was found to be 4,742 newtons. Another study of 70 boxers found an average force of 3,452 newtons and a maximum of 5,783 newtons. Finally, a study of former world heavyweight boxing champion Frank Bruno found he had a maximum punching force of 4,092 newtons in a lab, which they extrapolated to be over 6,000 newtons in ring. Side note to tie us back into nerd culture again, in this part of the research I found that at one point in Captain America Civil War, Steve Rogers was shown to punch with a force of about 1,300 newtons. Now, either Steve's super soldier serum really wasn't that super after all, or Tony's tech really wasn't working in that final fight. So for this we'll take the highest actually recorded value of 5,783 newtons. Obviously this is just someone hitting with their fist and not with a gun like in Warzone. Being as generous as I can possibly be with this to try and give Activision a fighting chance, we'll just assume that the operators in Warzone can move their fist at the speed of a top level boxer even with a gun in their hand. So scaling up the forces, I got to a value of about 15,500 newtons, being, as I said, as generous as possible. So these numbers suggest that punching is actually way more powerful than shooting, but A, I've used very unrealistic assumptions of how hard you could hit with the gun in your hands, and B, the more important number here is the pressure applied by the gun. So again, taking every assumption I can to give punching the best possible chance here, we'll say that the force is applied over the smallest area possible. So that gives a pressure of 1,230 newtons per square centimetre, or about 12.3 million pascals. To put that into perspective, it takes about 3,000 newtons per square centimetre to break bones. It's about 17.6% of the value we calculated for a bullet. Over in Warzone, it is also still possible to kill someone just by punching with your fists a load of times. Taking just the base punching force, we get a pressure that's about 0.19% of that of a bullet. So with these numbers being so much smaller compared to that of a bullet, how is it possible that between 2007 and 2017 there are reported to be 80 fatalities in the UK that were caused by a single punch? Well, in short, it's because the point of a punch is not to penetrate the body in the same way as a bullet, but to cause trauma to parts inside the body. Though punching is very dangerous, especially when you consider repeated strikes over time, as shown by boxers and other combat sports athletes and the health problems that they suffer with. Individual punches are incredibly unlikely to be fatal, and deaths from them are more likely freak occurrences rather than because of any incredible punching power or any great technique. So in previous videos I suggested that maybe this approach of applying science to everything kind of doesn't really fit what the point of each of these types of media is. So in films, does it work for the plot? Does it tell a good story? In this case, it's does the mechanic make the game fun? This time, I'm adamant the answer here is no, it's stupid. The fact that you can hit someone a few times and it's more effective than shooting them goes against the point of the game. The point of Call of Duty is shooting people, it's not fist fights. And that just takes no skill. It's like whacking the gun around. No, it's dumb and they need to change this. But the fact that you can come in with no weapon and stand a chance against someone who's actually worked hard to get themselves in a position in the game where they can fight more effectively, but apparently it made more sense just to run around with your gun and whack people. Yeah, this time I'm saying the science is right here, the game is wrong. I mean, why bother giving people guns in the game if punching is just so effective? Especially when they're having the melee weapons as well. Like, let's just run around with a sword. Let's just bring a sword to a gunfight. No, there's a reason you don't see armies running around with swords and baseball bats. It's because they don't work in practice, and it also isn't a fun game mechanic. And this is definitely not me just being salty about getting punched to death repeatedly and being bad at the game. I'm well aware I'm bad at the game. So in conclusion, what of this is real and what of this is nonsense? Well, being shot multiple times before dying, that is completely plausible. But no selling gunshots like you're the Fiend Bray Wyatt, no, that's nonsense. If you get shot, you know you've been shot. You're not still running around in the fight like nothing's happened. Dying from punching again is plausible, but incredibly unlikely, especially when even with the most generous estimates of the numbers, the pressure applied by a punch isn't actually enough to break bone. So overall, the yelling and the anger is all completely justified, my rage is justified, and Activision need to fix this. Also, Yeagle needs to put on a goddamn shirt. So hopefully you've all learned something here today, or at least enjoyed my continued descent into madness. If you have, click the subscribe button for more videos like this. Ask any questions you have in the comments, because as I always say, there are no useless questions here.